everybody, welcome back. In this episode of Trailing Spouses, we're going to be talking about self-care and the importance of self-care as a trailing spouse, as an expat, and as a mom.
Yes. Also important topic, my favorite topic actually, because I have perfected, probably a little too much. Might be, they say self-care is never selfish. I don't know. I might take it too
You take it too much?
I might. But I'm very cared for, and that has been a product of time.
Okay.
Because I certainly had to evolve and get there. I did not start there on my expat journey, and I suffered because of it. So it's a very important topic.
I think I'm still trying to perfect my self-care. I'm still trying to deal with allowing myself to have it, to say this is mine, to claim it, and not to feel guilty about it. So I'm here, I'm there.
Right.
I take it, I give it back, and I lose it sometimes, but I'm learning the importance of just having it and allowing myself to have it, and not to feel as though I am this invisible person in the room who does not deserve to have it. Because usually you'll go to the bottom of your list.
Absolutely.
And you'll forget about yourself.
Absolutely.
But I want to ask you, as a trailing spouse and as an expat who has lived in different places, what's the importance of self-care just as a woman and as a spouse?
I think it's so fundamental to mental health.
Right.
First. There's both physical and mental benefits from it. I personally feel that it's critical to surviving sort of the trailing spouse journey, the expat journey, because inherently, whoever the trailing spouse is, whether it's male or female, because I've met trailing spouses that the woman's job brought them over, but whoever the trailing spouse or supporting spouse, as I like to say, whoever you are, so oftentimes the large majority share of change falls on you because your spouse comes to that country with a mission, with a purpose, with clear intent. It's their job that brought you there. You're the one having to navigate through. Now, mind you, the job change, okay, that's one thing, and they have to navigate that world, but it's still a function that they're not unfamiliar with. You're the one that's having to figure out where to go grocery shopping, where to buy the kids' school clothes from, how to figure out if you're going to drive, how to get a car, the fundamental things, and the lion's share of even packing and unpacking, it falls on you. It takes a physical toll. It takes an emotional toll. There are a lot of things that you are giving up. So for me, giving up the trajectory of my legal career was huge. The first time that I made that move, and you could be a trailing spouse, whether it's international or domestic. I've been a domestic trailing spouse where I moved from Tennessee to Indiana, gave up all of my legal contacts, gave up a lucrative job at a law firm, and moved to a place where I had no community, no network. That's one form of being a trailing spouse, where you have to constantly give things up. So I think when you're pouring out in that way, it becomes all the more critical for you to pour back into yourself and not to rely on someone else to do it, because your spouse may be busy.
Yes.
And that sometimes it's a hole that only you can fill, and it's not necessarily fair to make it your spouse's responsibility to fill that void. And that's why self-care is
all about, right?
It's for yourself.
It's for yourself. It's giving yourself the power to pour into yourself, because chances are, a lot of the times, there's actually nobody else who's there to pour into you, because you're so busy pouring out yourself into the various things that are going on around you. So, what does self-care look like?
Well, it's different for everybody. For me, my favorite thing, I love day spas.
Right.
I love day spas and body treatments. I am not a big massage person.
Okay.
I like manicures. I like pedicures. I like going to museums. I love going to a park and just sit there, not necessarily all the time to read, but sometimes just to think.
Right.
Self-care can be silence. Because as moms, I'm telling you, at one point in time, I hadn't been to the bathroom by myself since 2008, since I gave birth. I'm being real.
Self-care is sitting there
by yourself.
In silence, by yourself.
Take a bath alone with no one coming in to say, Mommy,
Yeah.
it's nice. It's nice to be able to have solitude. It can be that simple. Sometimes, one of my friends is moving to South Africa right now, and with the company, you get your large container shipment of all of your goods, but then you also get this air package of like, it's larger than, regular mailing.
regular,
Yeah, but you get like your immediate things that you need. And so she was asking me like, oh, what should I pack? What should I? Oh, take your pans, your pots, your spices, the things that you need, pillowcases, stuff that you want, comfort stuff. And then I told her, I said, pack a surprise in there just for you. I don't care if it's a candle and a tea bag. I don't care if it's your favorite lip gloss or something that you will remind you that you are special, that you are important. You can't rely on your spouse to send you flowers all the time that you're feeling down.
Actually, that's another point that I want to come to for self-care. For a lot of women, a lot of supporting spouses or trailing spouses, dinner for one is okay to do for yourself. Buy yourself flowers, take yourself out to dinner. You have that space. It's a little bit out of the norm, I suppose. A lot of people will be like, I'm waiting for somebody else to invite me or to go with me. But I've discovered that, you know what? I need to pamper myself once in a while. And pampering myself is taking myself out for a meal. It doesn't have to be a five-star, five-star dining restaurant.
Maybe it's a cheap meal and just a slice of cake.
Ooh, yes.
Nice.
Yes, carrot cake,
Yes.
especially.
Yeah.
But yes.
Yeah.
And then also, I want to ask, self-care to a lot of trailing spouses comes in different forms, like you said. And then to other trailing spouses, it may not appear as what it is. So, or supportive as what it's supposed to be. So a lot of women deny themselves a lot of the things that they actually should be receiving as part of their self-care package.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
So when is the right time to give yourself permission to actually say, okay?
I think immediately. I think it's something that you honestly need to start thinking about even before you move. So when you have notification that you're about to go on an expat journey, I will write down and start the journal, because you'd be surprised when you're in the midst of a move and a whole lot of change. Sometimes the hardest thing is to sit down and say, what do I want to do?
Right.
What makes me happy? What do I like? You'd be surprised. You think you know yourself, but sometimes we're so busy doing, so busy pouring out that, and women, we evolve. People evolve.
Right.
Men, women, especially after you have kids. What may make you happy when you first got married as a self-care act may not be the same once you are married for a period of time or after you've had kids. It may change. So I would sit down and think about, and especially, I think you said the key word, permission. Giving yourself permission to know that it is not necessarily something that is just a nice to do. It is necessary and critical. I personally feel like it's an absolute. Maybe some people don't feel that way, but I do. And this is my second go at an international trailing spouse, third go at being a trailing spouse, period. I don't think that you can avoid, I will speak for myself, I cannot avoid trailing spouse syndrome, trailing spouse depression without being intentional about self-care. And that's real. When I first moved to London, I went through every cycle of trailing spouse syndrome, depression, and everything else because I was not heightenedly aware. I didn't even know that it was necessary. I didn't even know trailing spouse syndrome was a thing.
Yeah.
I had to look that up. I didn't. And then when I read it, you need to look that up. Because when I read it, I was like, oh my gosh, it was this. If you saw trailing spouse syndrome, you would have seen a picture of me.
If it was a person.
If trailing spouse syndrome was a person, okay, it would have been me in London. Hi, my name's Juanita. Hi, Juanita. I needed some therapy. And that's the other thing. Sometimes self-care can be therapy. Making the appointment and making the commitment.
Yes.
They've got a lot of apps now. They've got a lot of stuff online.
Yeah.
Maybe you need to talk to somebody. Maybe you need to mourn the career that you thought you were going to have, the trajectory that you thought you were going to be on. Not that you don't embrace this new place, but maybe, one of my good dear friends, Alicia, bought me this book called Good Grief. And it really pertains to people that are passing away or dying. When my grandfather died, she gave it to me. But then it's a bigger thing of being able to grieve what you lost,
The career that you just lost because you had to move.
Yes, or
to go support somebody else's career.
Absolutely. And it's not necessarily a bad thing because it bursts out, new seasons, new things, great things. But you have to give yourself permission to say, you know what, but I really wanted to be partner, or I really like doing that. I really, there are days where I miss being in that other life, and that is okay.
Right.
You don't stay there, but to deny it, I think is a violation to yourself. And sometimes a form of self-care can be a little bit of talking to somebody. But one question I have for you, how do you make self-care like a priority? How do you make it something that actually happens?
For me, self-care, I had to learn to make a commitment to myself. I literally have to calendar it in. There are days where I know, okay, whoa, it's that time of the month where I have to take myself out. I have to go and relax. And it takes me every month or different months, it takes different forms. My self-care shifts depending on what I feel I need. I could then need a therapist session. So I know, okay, I'm going to call and book an appointment and go and talk to somebody this month or the next couple of months. Or I need to go get my nails done. And I'm going to go and be like, I'm just going to sit out here and let y'all do everything that needs to be done to me correctly, And I sit there for hours and I fall asleep and I leave just feeling, okay, I'm ready to take on the world.
Yeah.
So, and I think being in Taiwan, having the variety of places and to go where you can have self-care and just the parks and the museums, like you said, the movies, to able to write, to go into a place. And I love to write. And I love, my little notebooks. So to be able to go and buy little notebooks and write them in and then look at the calendar and say, okay, it's about time that I need to go. So I don't cheat myself out. I've made the commitment to myself.
That's so good about making it a routine almost is what you're doing.
Yeah.
And penciling it in for yourself, because we'll pencil in everything else from the PTA meeting to everything for the kids, but penciling yourself in, that's critical.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is all we had today on today's episode for Trailing Spouses. We're talking about self-care, and we hope that you enjoyed it. We'll be back next time.
Join us again. This has been Trailing Spouses.